All right, I know we're 2 minutes late, everybody. I want to thank everybody for joining us today to our third series of Dinner with Practice Heroes. Welcome and thanks for joining us. If you ever want to reach out to any of us Practice Heroes, please email us at practiceheroes.com. So today's hot topic, we're going to talk about analytics. What gets measured gets done. All right, I think it's one of those action slides, if you will. So I'd like to, before we start, I'd like to introduce our panelists tonight, Tyler Phillips, Jackie Lauterbach, and Crystal Beal. They each bring a lot of industry knowledge to the table. Tyler, Jackie, and Crystal, thanks for joining us tonight again. And can each of you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Yeah, thank you for having me, Maria. Hey, everybody, I'm Tyler Phillips. I'm a practice manager in Charlotte, North Carolina, and also a part of the CareStack Practice Heroes team. I became a member of the CareStack family over 3 years ago, becoming a client, and have watched it grow and develop into what it is today. And I'm here because I've seen what it can do for our practice as well as others, and I believe in their product. So thanks for having me here tonight.
Awesome.
Hi, everyone. My name is Jackie Lauterbach. I was invited by Maria to be a panelist on tonight's webinar, so it's wonderful to be here and be amongst these peers. Tyler and Crystal, you've both been wonderful putting this information together, and Maria, of course, you as well. I have been in the dental industry for about 7 years, started in administration. I've worked in billing, practice management, and most currently in operational management as well. So thank you for having me.
Hi, my name is Crystal Beal. I've been in the dental industry for 7 years now, working in several large DSOs, managing and overseeing their multi-specialty programs. And I'm super excited to be here with everybody tonight. And Tyler, Jackie, and Maria, you as well.
All right. Thanks, everyone. All right, let's get down to the nitty-gritty here. All right. So we've all heard the phrase, what gets measured gets done. What does that mean? It actually means regular measurement and reporting keeps you focused because you use that information to make decisions to improve your results. So just like on the slide, basically, we're going to talk about OKRs, which is objective key results, and KPIs, which are key performance indicators, which are essential for your dental practice operations, success, and growth. Also, it's once you start putting these KPIs and OKRs together, guys, you're going to start seeing an improvement in excellence in patient care and overall operations, whether it be admin and clinical, and will it be determined by the consistency of your results. Data, you're going to need to know the data so that you can drive and measure your revenue, growth, and success. So a couple of key items here. It improves the quality of dental care and patient satisfaction, implementation of quality control measures, improvement in team and individual performance, and determines how well practice goals are not, and increases growth in revenue, as well as improves overall communication. Okay, topics for tonight. So a couple key things. What are OKRs and KPIs? What types of OKRs and KPIs? Developing analytics or measurements, setting and tracking goals. Thanks, Crystal. All right, so let's review this. So what are OKRs and KPIs? As you can see today, you want to be able to set your business goals, if you will. But before you do that, you have to build the framework. I'm going to use an analogy of an OKR as the framework of a car, and a KPI as the engine and everything else that makes the car run. So OKRs, what is the what? It's the strategic framework for the desired outcomes, your goals and your main objectives, and you use your objectives to guide your actions. What are your thoughts on this, Jackie?
Well, this is certainly very important for anybody who's looking to set goals and to reach them in their business. And OKR really is going to be the beginning of that framework, as you mentioned. It is the what to when you're setting your KPIs. You must set your OKR first before you set your KPIs as well.
And I think you've got a great example coming up down the road. Thanks, Crystal. Okay, so once again, OKRs and KPIs. So the OKRs must have a single objectives. Objectives by their nature, it's a qualitative concept, i.e. they are characterized by their quality and cannot be measured. Simply put, OKR provides the direction and answer the questions of the what, where do we want to go, and what do we want to achieve? The purpose of objectives is to provide the definitions for the goals you want to pursue. And some of your OKRs may have 3 to 5 KPIs to get to the result that you want to accomplish.
Perfectly said.
Yes.
Yes.
All right, so we're down to the KPIs, and I know, Tyler, you've got a lot to talk about this. You use a lot of KPIs in your own practice.
That's right. All right, KPIs. What are they? I mean, so when I started in the dental world, I had no idea what a KPI was. Someone said it one time. I was at a round table for small business owners, and they started talking about KPIs, and half of the room looked at each other and said, "What's a KPI?" So key performance indicators, they're so crucial in tracking the success of your practice. Where are you? What are your goals? How do you get there? Setting KPIs and developing those are so important. So, if you have goals that you want to achieve, it's crucial to develop KPIs and develop the proper KPIs. There's so many different variations of KPIs out there, so it's important to dial in on what's important for you specifically. And I can't begin to stress how important that is. It's the best way to track your progress and have a quantifiable metric for your goals in your practice. And I'm sure these ladies have also tracked some of these and can elaborate as well. But it's very important to, in our staff lounge, we have goals set, and having these KPIs and monitoring those is important to make sure we hit those every month.
Right. So, we've thrown a lot of acronyms out there. OKR, it's not Oprah, but it's OKR. And KPIs, right? Key performance indicators. But what are the key differences between the OKRs and KPIs? It's the intention behind the goal setting. So just remember that. All right, here we go. Remember, OKR is not Oprah, right? So there are several types of OKRs. There's committed, aspirational, as you can see on the slide here. So OKRs align moving parts and define goals with complete transparency, so everyone knows exactly what to accomplish. It helps you visualize your goals, like an aspirational OKR, and it helps you make data-driven decisions. You gain clear insights from results. Thanks, Crystal.
You're welcome.
And there's the strategic OKR, which, once again, Jackie's going to talk about her example, because she started out with an OKR, drilled it down, and found other, issues that had her have to make a huge decision within her organization. So kind of excited to talk about that. But there are strategic OKRs, which helps carry out and have you focus on the goals of the company. And then tactical OKRs, which helps you strategize, whether it's individually, by team and department. And also, I just got to tell you, some people have actually used OKRs to help with their career goals. So OKRs doesn't have to be like about numbers, but also it can help you for those that want to rise up within the industry, create an OKR for yourself. Okay. Here's that OKR example, Jackie, you're going to talk about.
Thank you so much. So one example of an OKR and subsequently a KPI that I used as an example to share with you guys, one would be, how am I going to make sure I provide a clinically appropriate mix of services based on the region that I live in, or should I say work in, and also the patient demographic averages. So a more specific example of that is, and this is one I've used personally, is, does my practice deliver an appropriate mix of services when it comes to prophylaxis versus periodontal therapy services based on what my regional averages should be and what also my patient demographic averages are, such as the average age of patients. So for our audience, for those of you that are in the dental industry and you're listening, this is something relatable for all of us, because when we evaluate our business, we're doing audits amongst our patient charts, making sure that the services that we're providing are appropriate. We're upholding a quality of care. We want to look and make sure, we're not just doing prophy after prophy after prophy. Are we doing all the necessary services to make sure that if somebody is truly a candidate or a patient who needs periodontal therapy, are we providing that service as well? And we don't want that to fall by the wayside. So this OKR, which is making sure we're providing the proper services based on our business, the KPI I would use for that is I'd want to take the number of my prophy codes, divide that by the number of my periodontal codes. And that will be the whole cluster of all of them, from periodontal maintenance through all of the scaling and root planing codes and some of the other codes as well. Taking that total number divided by the prophy codes, multiplying it by 100, of course, to get your percentage, that's going to give me a percentage of my hygiene cleanings against my periodontal therapy. This should show me where I stand for a percentage of my hygiene services, what's falling under healthy mouth cleaning as opposed to periodontal therapy, which is a bit more of a serious treatment to treat in our practice. The targeted goal that I have set in my past and currently is we want a mixture of about 60 to 70% to be prophy to periodontal therapy. So if I use those numbers that I'm pulling out of my software based on the services that we're providing, this will give me my KPI. If I'm falling outside of my range of 60 to 70%, I know that something needs to be either evaluated more thoroughly or changed in my practice. So that's one example of a KPI and an OKR.
So Jackie, prior to the webinar, we talked about this specific OKR that you actually had to create, and it actually resonated with the other offices within your organization. So what you told me, so just a little backstory, folks. There was a time in Jackie's organization where there were scheduled utilization. They had open chairs, meaning open slots, and they were trying to figure out as to the reasons why. And so what I remembered you doing this, then Jackie, you just took a deep dive as to first and foremost finding out why are we not having many hygiene appointments, because there's that old adage of hygiene driving dentistry, right? So
Absolutely.
that obviously doctors can go in there and diagnose treatment. With this being said, there was several months of holes in the schedule, if you will.
Mm-hmm.
And so you took a deeper dive, and I can remember you telling me this, and then found out that all your hygienists were just only doing prophies. Like you were at a 90% prophy and 10% perio.
Yes.
And so just talk a little bit about that. This is a great story, I think, that just resonates, and it can be happening to other people today.
Absolutely. So part of that backstory with these holes that were in our schedule, that was a result, that was collateral damage of a different situation in our practice. We had some change in the insurance carriers that we were taking, and unfortunately it took a hit on our schedule. Certain people did not want to come back if we were not in network with their insurance. So naturally, if we were not seeing hygiene patients today, for example, half the schedule falls apart. 6 months from today, we're going to have a similar mirrored gap in our schedule. So part of what we were looking at in the future when we're looking at our schedule 6 months out is we're seeing these holes in the schedule, looking for opportunity, and it opened up a bigger picture of the question is, are we providing all the services and all the mix of services that we should be based on what the demographic of our patients were? Knowing that the average age of our patients was in a certain range, and of course in the region as well, knowing what the average age of the regional population was as well, we should have a fairly healthy periodontal rate in our practice, anywhere from 30 to 40%. So conversely, our prophy range should be more appropriately in a 60 to 70% range. So as Maria said, when we were running those numbers, we're higher in the 90s. What that's telling me is my office is producing more prophies than anything else, and it was not fitting what a regional average should be.
But you're also, what had also had shown you was that, there were periodontal treatment that could have been done. Didn't you? I think you told me that, I think you had 1 month that you were able to do 32 SRPs versus the previous year when your office only did 20 SRPs.
Something like that. It wasn't, I believe it was over the span of 2 months. We did have a phenomenal increase following, the American Periodontal Society's guidelines for periodontal health, of course, but finding that treatment out there, doing the appropriate scaling, route planning, services, also doing our probing depths, making sure that we're finding the right treatment and we're diagnosing with the doctor's exams. We had treatment out there that we weren't catching. And once we were evaluating this better, looking at our charts more appropriately, giving the patients the services that we need, those schedules were filling up quick.
And you shared this KPI with the rest of your team, right? So it was
Yes.
visible for everybody. So
Yep.
everybody was engaged and they bought into it, knowing the fact that there was that area of opportunity.
Yes, it was very important to share what we wanted our goal to be, give them that milestone to want to reach. And on a daily and weekly average, we were looking at those numbers and talking about them. We talked about them during morning huddle. We talked about them during staff meetings. This was something that I utilized to keep the team informed, keep them motivated to keep going in that direction, and also to keep them feeling supported that we're all rowing in that same direction. So it was really important to have those numbers out there and have them communicated frequently.
It's also a great way to hold your team accountable to ensure that they're providing the best patient care possible, that they're doing what is the best for that patient's needs. So I love that, Jackie.
Yeah, that's a very good point. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Thank you. All right. Our KPI team, Tyler and Crystal, take it away.
All right. So types of KPIs, so we're going to talk about strategic, strategic KPIs are so important. An example is for return on investment, so we were talking earlier before the webinar, you're buying a new piece of equipment. I know we've been evaluating and buying equipment through the years. How well does it serve you? Are you reaching your goals, and are you ensuring that equipment is paying for itself? Setting goals to make sure that you are actually paying for it and making a profit and seeing that return on investment is so important when you're evaluating what does the practice need, what could really boost revenues. So that's a huge thing with strategic KPIs, is looking at the big picture and saying, okay, I can do this. I can set the goals. What are my goals to actually reach the amount of money I need to see a return on investment here? With your operational KPIs, when we're referring to those in the dental world, it's important to project and track our production per department. How effective is your hygiene department? In today's climate, as we all know, hygienists are really hard to come by since COVID. So are you setting, it's important to set and have healthy and attainable production goals for your providers per department. Determine these based on your salaries for your employees and what hourly production do you want that to reflect, So Jackie, I know you could probably elaborate on that a little bit. We look at a formula of hourly salary and how much do they need to produce over that to be effective in the practice.
Yes, that was something we were talking about before, is that if you want to set a goal for yourself, whether it's production per hour, production per day, that would be an OKR that you would set for yourself as a production base. You want to set a goal for yourself to reach a daily, weekly, monthly, quarterly, you can go as far as you want, but a production goal. Breaking that down into more attainable bites is something really important, so that you have something to reach for, you have something to guide yourself with your steps and your actions every day. Breaking it down even further and looking at your hygiene department, for example, if you want your production per hour for your hygienist to be at a certain range, you need to take a look at the mix of services that's being booked on a daily basis. Are you setting them up for that success? So certainly you can see a recurring theme here. You find one OKR, you set yourself a goal, you determine some KPIs are going to help you reach that goal. You're going to naturally find more OKRs and KPIs that come from this. It's kind of an organic process that's going to come, and it all comes from a good place. I think you're going to find areas for improvement, steps you want to take to get to that kind of level of success, and you're just going to naturally find more of them.
And to that point, if you have the ability to do block scheduling, if you're setting these goals, you can set a block schedule to achieve those specific goals. You know, of course, we're going to schedule appropriately for what is needed in the patient's best interest. But that's another great tool when you're tracking and setting your KPIs.
All right, so next is going to be functional unit KPIs. This is going to be using your historical numbers so that you can project goals for the future. This is very important to track the growth of your practice, the success of your practice, especially when you're evaluating to hire on new staff as needed for the office. So new hygienists, new doctors, things like that. So this is a very important one. And then leading versus lagging KPIs. For example, a leading KPI is looking at what you could do for 2021 year to date, and then a lagging KPI is what you have done. So you're using historical data to go ahead and look at these specific KPIs.
And this is, I have an example. We actually have a spreadsheet within our practice that shows us the last 10 years, month over month, year over year, production, collection percentages, so that we can effectively track and project for that next year and set proper goals based on our previous year or previous month. So it's very important to know that, to have that data at your fingertips.
I think it's also important to note that you can have static KPIs, meaning that these are like the KPIs that you can definitely lean on every time to obviously monitor the success of your practice and how to move that needle, if you will, right? If you're looking to monthly goals, you know, if you miss the monthly goal, then you have the quarter to make it up, or then you still have the year to make it up. Your team is able to pivot very quickly and make the adjustments that's needed. So, and then there's going to be those KPIs based on the OKRs that you found as to, all right, maybe we're having a shortage on new patients. What's going on here? Well, then, is it because, as I'm looking through the schedules, all other types of new patient exams, there's other types of appointments that are being scheduled there. So going back to Tyler's point about creating block scheduling, if you will, or template scheduling would be an answer to that. And you can create KPIs to monitor as to the number of new patients that you're also seeing month over month, year over year.
If I can add to that, Maria, you just kind of brought up a really good point, mentioning new patients. We're talking about a lot of acronyms and numbers here, OKRs and KPIs, and all of them are really important, looking at numbers and analytics with your business. But KPIs can be something as simple as the everyday patient reviews. You know, you set an OKR of, I want to get more new patients in my practice. And we all know one of the best ways to get new patients is word of mouth.
Yes.
Great word of mouth comes from excellent online reviews. So if you were to look at that big picture wise and say, I want new patients in my practice, I need more new patients, it's the lifeblood of my business, set yourself a goal for your team to say, we're going to make sure that if for all the patients we see in a day, we want to make sure at least 90% of them get a review request sent to them. And hopefully the turnaround from that is we get an online review. Fingers crossed, it's a wonderful 5-star review, but looking at this, it's not just numbers and data and analytics. You're setting yourself a goal, new patients. You're finding yourself a way that you know is an effective way to do that, which is online reviews. How do we get online reviews? Make sure we send the request to every patient. So that's another kind of example of how you can utilize OKR and KPIs on the everyday. That's a very relatable one for your front desk team because they're directly involved too. So that's another piece of keeping that engagement with your team.
Most definitely. Very important. Thanks for that, Jen.
Right.
Go ahead, Crystal. You've got a great example here.
So this is a great example on how to ensure that you are providing quality care for your patients, as well as keeping your schedules full and productive 6 months in advance. So what this is this, we're going to track the average of pre-scheduled appointments, whether it be a cleaning, an exam. We want to make sure that this is being done so we can ensure and guarantee those productive schedules in the future. The way that we're going to track these is we're going to take the number of scheduled hygiene appointments divided by the number of available hygiene appointments scheduled 6 months out and times that by 100. And that's going to get you your number, which is going to get you your percentage of your hygiene schedule that you are utilizing or using. And then the goal, a typical target goal would be anywhere from 80 to 85%. This is going to leave you enough room on your schedules for new patients and treatments. You don't want to overpack it with too much. You still want to make sure that there's still enough room for the new patients and treatment that's being diagnosed.
In addition to that, Crystal, oh, sorry, Maria, go ahead.
No, go ahead. No, go for it, Jackie.
I was just going to say, you hit the nail on the head, Crystal. If you're at an 80 to 85%, you've got room in your schedule that you can fit new patients in, kind of dovetailing off of the previous comment we were talking about. But also, if you're looking future and you're hitting 90, 95% utilization in your schedule, if you have the room in your practice, maybe that's an indicator that we need more hygienists. That's also on the flip side of that. That could also be a forecasting indicator. Hey, we have that extra operatory that's just getting dusty and we never use it, and we're at maximum capacity here. Maybe we need to hire another hygienist, and maybe that's a room for growth for us too.
Definitely.
That's so important, Jackie, to your point. We were looking at the opportunity to buy more office space, and I actually sat down and looked at what was our utilization and where we at capacity in our current space. Hired another doctor, hired another hygienist. Then you hit capacity in that space. Then you evaluate, is it time to add more space? So these OKRs and KPIs are so important in the overall big picture and success of your practice. It's not just tunnel vision for certain things,
Correct.
Very true.
Great points here, team. Also, I just want to tell the audience to please take photos of anything that you see here that are pearls of wisdom for you, because what we're showing today, you can actually implement tomorrow in your office and any type of software you're utilizing as well. So please take, the freedom of taking a photo like this example as well. Email us at practiceheroes@carestack.com if you want other types of content from us to help you with your business. Okay. Thank you. All right. So KPI goals, they're typically obtainable and represent the output of a process or project already in place. And OKRs, which is what we just talked about, they're goals that are somewhat more aggressive and also ambitious. With respect to this topic, which is KPIs, right? I've read somewhere that KPIs have been an enormous part of how organizations track and measure success for the past 100 plus years. I mean, that's a long time. And Tyler, you can speak to that. I mean, you've been tracking it you saw that I had an opportunity, and I like that story actually that you shared with me earlier as to how that all transpired.
Well, I mean, if I've said it once, I'll say it 100 times. Developing these analytics for your practice is crucial to your success. I mean, these can be very specific based on your specific practice and the needs. What are your goals? Do you have departmental goals? Do you have individual provider goals? How do you develop these to fit your needs? In our own practice, early on, we were concerned about cash flow, as many small business owners are. Therefore, an important KPI for us to track was the over-the-counter collections. For example, as you might hear at the OTC, what did you produce today and what did you collect today? I mean, the over-the-counter collections can affect your cash flow, because what you collected today is what's going in the bank tomorrow. The rest of that production is out there waiting for insurance to pay. You got to go chase that money. So that can be very important when tracking cash flow. There's so many important KPIs based on collections, production, per provider, so many things that we all like to track to know where we stand within our practice.
Right. And I'd like to also encourage our audience to hang out with us towards the end, because we have KPIs to share with you, as well as the formulas and how you can actually, once again, implement it tomorrow. All right. Okay, so KPIs, they serve as a business guidepost, helping track how effective individuals, like you said, Tyler, teams and or entire organizations, is performing related to key business objectives. And we keep talking about this. But, Jackie, what are your thoughts?
Well, one thing I keep thinking about with KPIs is, and something you mentioned earlier about using KPIs for the last 100 years, For those who aren't maybe familiar with KPIs, it might sound really lofty, really complicated, really intimidating. I think a lot of practices are using OKRs and KPIs and maybe not knowing what to call them. You're looking at your business, you're seeing trends on your own, and you're putting your best guess to get your thumb on it. But really having articulated and formulated OKRs and KPIs outlined and shared with your team, I think really gives you that proof in the pudding, as they say. You want to see the reasons why. When I first got into this industry and I was utilizing OKRs and KPIs in this kind of manner, my mentor would come up and say, for the over-the-counter cash collections, for example, why are we not getting those collections in? Your numbers are looking low. Your percentages aren't hitting where you really should based on your production. And to me, I'm thinking, this person's just a wizard. Like, she just knows everything about the business. She can see it like it's black and white. I just don't know enough. But really what was there were these numbers. These numbers were giving that proof to the pudding. It was showing the why of what's happening in that practice. I'm the kind of person that I want the explanation. I want to know why something's happening. I just didn't know any better. So to speak to the importance of these KPIs and what they're really gleaning out of your business, you probably already have a great handle on what's going on and getting that pulse of your practice. These KPIs give you a quantifiable number, a measure that you can hold yourself and your team accountable to, and you can share. It's more than just saying, hey, I think we're doing really good. Things have been all right for a while. It's, hey, let's look at the trending numbers for the last 6 months up till now and what the future 6 months are going to look like as well.
Right.
And let me show you what that looks like.
I think that there are key points here. I'm sorry, Tyler.
Oh, no, you're good. Go ahead.
Yeah, I think that there are key points here, that talks about stages of a practice. Like if you're a startup practice, you want to focus on quality feedback. For mid-stage practice, you want to focus on customer satisfaction. And then lastly, an established practice, focusing on revenue and lifetime value of the practice. I mean, I know that there are providers out there that one practice is not enough for them. They want to grow. And to do that, if you want to scale, then you definitely need to establish your OKRs and your KPIs.
Yes.
You're going to come out of this webinar audience having OKR and KPI branded into your brain.
Well,
you look at everything like, oh, that's an OKR, that's a KPI.
Maria, to your point, that for the last one, for established practices, focusing on revenue and lifetime value for these doctors who have been around for a while, who want to have a succession plan and know where they're going, it's so important to know the revenue and the lifetime value of your practice to properly plan your retirement, and develop a succession plan. So that is crucial for that future planning.
Right. That is definitely a critical point there. Thanks, Tyler. So these are the key steps in the KPI process. Do we just want to talk high level about this? I just looked at the time. We're so passionate about this topic.
I like this slide. I think this is a good one if anyone wants to take a screenshot or a picture. This is a good one to kind of explain it out to your team, talking about how to identify what your KPIs are, how to create them based on what your goals are and the needs of your business, as we just talked about, whether you're a new startup, mid-level, or at the established ranges. And then also evaluating what these KPIs mean and how they're affecting your business, how to change and kind of flex with the needs of your practice, and then how to assess the success of them as well and see where you're going, see if you need to stretch that a little bit further.
All right, setting goals. People say, why do I need to set goals? What are the importance for that? I'm gonna reach out to the three of you guys and you tell me why it's so important, like before setting the KPIs, right?
Well, I think evaluating your practice and looking at the big picture and what your goals are, where you would like to be and how do you get there is so important. And developing those OKRs and KPIs are the way you're going to get there. And I know we talked about this earlier on a call when we were prepping for this. It's just so important to actually have clear lines of this is what we want for the practice and how do we get there.
I think an important point here as well is the goal setting exercise with your team. I mean, I can tell you through my experience, it's been, it resonates more, it creates buy-in, it creates commitment, engagement, and trust, if you will. It creates alignment. We usually use our KPIs as part of our morning huddles. It's part of your communication, if you will. I'm sorry, Chris, I didn't mean to interject.
No, morning huddles, that's exactly what I was going to say, Maria. KPIs are a great thing to review in morning huddles, day after day, month after month. It just allows everybody to be on the same page and everybody focused on one goal. So it's a great tool to use, definitely, so everybody's on the same page and everybody has one end goal in mind. Everybody wants to be successful.
So we have large Post-it note type things in our staff lounge, and we write our goals up there and track those with the staff so they can be a part of it and they feel like they got some skin in the game, and it just keeps everybody on the same page and everybody's motivated to reach those goals together.
Yes.
Yep. Right. Here we go, writing down your goals and making it visible. I don't know how many times I've done that through my career, and I know that you all, for people to be alignment, I guess, and again, to row in the same direction, you have to have it visible. I like the fact that you have huge Post-it notes in your lunchrooms and what have you. What does everybody else utilize here? In CareStack, I know we have an analytics dashboard, which is awesome. You could always incorporate in your day-to-day, right?
Yes.
Yes. In a practice that I used to work at, we had a big TV in the break room that we would do huddles with, and it would show pretty much all your KPIs there, and it would, update itself every day. So every day we would start with a huddle and go over all the KPIs on the board.
In my experience, morning huddles, everybody had a copy of a printed schedule. Not everyone goes with paper anymore these days, but my team really likes something tangible in their hands. So you flex. And I would print one at the top. I would write our daily goal. I would write where we're scheduled to, and I would write, we'd mind that gap. We'd take a look and see how far away or how over goal we are. That's the one I made the copy of for everybody, so that everybody had it at the top of their schedule. They can keep it front and center and make sure it's on their mind every day. And it gives a talking point to our huddle as well. It keeps them motivated. If you're a little under goal yesterday, you also want to look back. You want to see what you're trending to, because if you were short $1,000 yesterday, and today you have 4 holes in your schedule, you bet your bottom dollar everyone's going to really try to fill those holes, because we want to make up for that $1,000 we lost yesterday.
Right.
Well,
and wiggle from each day.
And that's a great point too. Talking about CareStack, that home screen that they've developed. I mean, you can see production based on providers and departments and such, and you can see those holes, and they've created an easy way for you to fill your schedule right from that home screen. So when we meet every morning, that's the first thing everyone looks at, and we're able to see the big picture of the whole day and see where we are. And that is crucial just to keep your team involved so that you can reach those goals.
Right. And if there's a bullet point here that talks about falling short, I can tell you that when that happens, we've learned how to, we had like option A, B's, and C's already, just in case we were falling short. Then how do we pivot? Do we need to pivot? What is it that we need to make adjustments within the schedules? Do we need to open up a Saturday perhaps? Things of that nature. You can make informed decisions. The data is going to help you drive that.
Exactly. You wouldn't think to look at your schedule next month and open up 2 Saturdays to build extra revenue if you weren't looking so closely at this month and realizing, hey, we're falling short, guys. I don't know if we're going to reach our goal. It's sad, but let's take a look at the quarter. If we can't make it this month, let's look at the quarter, and maybe we have opportunities next month that we can be more proactive.
Or extending hours in the weekday.
Yep.
There's those options too.
Yep.
All right. So this is the SMART criteria, which you can utilize in everything, whether it's KPIs, HR, you name it.
Everyone loves a good acronym.
Smart acronym. Go ahead.
Yeah. So I mean, it's so important. One of the best ways to track the success of your KPIs is through the SMART method. So, is your goal specific? Is it the right goal for your practice? Can you measure it based on your operational structure within the practice? is it attainable? We don't want to set goals that are out of reach for our team. We want to be realistic here and set attainable goals. Is it relevant to your practice? Is it going to help achieve the things that you're looking to achieve? And are you setting them in a reasonable time frame? We don't want to set some unreasonable goal for our team that they can't reach within a specific amount of time. So while it's very important to have big goals, it's also very important to make them reasonable and attainable goals for your team.
Most definitely, because they can tune out. It's like, oh, it's just the same thing, same old. But you know what? It's not. There's always areas of opportunity. And majority of the times, you ever have your team member ask, can I speak to you? Ask the question, can I speak to you for a second? Because they're bringing something up like an issue or an area of opportunity, and then opens up the door to then ask, well, then what is our solution? And I'm sure you all had experiences in that or had it happen.
Right.
Okay, so it's like what I said, folks. We have 2 slides. This is the first one. These are KPIs that you can actually implement today, tomorrow, the next day, you name it. And these are the formulas that you will use to create these KPIs if you're on other types of software and not on CareStack, but you can use this on any type of software. So let's talk about productivity. You can use this, you can measure the KPI for either restorative, which is general dentistry, or hygiene. And this is where you take your total production, and you could do this month to date, divide that by the total chair or patient hours. I like to go by chair hours because you can have a patient that can take maybe 4 hours because maybe it's a huge implant case, who knows? But I like to always go by chair hours, which gives you then your productivity per hour. So the production that you can use is either, you can do 2 things. You can see what you look like UCR, and you can see what looks like gross, which is your contractual fees. And, in my experience, I use both. And the reason why is because I had an area that took a lot of capitation, HMOs, if you will, based on the demographics and the employer groups. And then I had areas that didn't take PPOs or may have taken PPOs, or they're more on fee for service. So if I were to look at the performance in both of those types of the entire organization, it really is not, you can't really, it's not apples to apples. It's mostly like apples to oranges, right? So I usually use this formula. I look at the UCR fees, and I also look at the gross, which is your contractual fees. Then
my doctor tracks that daily, Maria.
Okay, yeah.
Every day he looks at those numbers.
Yes. It's one of the things I look at always as well, just trying to see how we're doing and where can we help our teams, right? There's also case acceptance. So what you do is you'll take your total treatment booked, divide that by your total treatment planned, times 100, it gives you your case acceptance percentage. It's always good to utilize, let's say for hygiene, if you're introducing a periodontal treatment program, if you will, if you've got new associates coming in, if you're seeing, lag in production for reasons unknown, and this is, this then opens up the doors to the why, what's going on, and how can we then resolve this, right?
That can also be a training opportunity, Maria, just to jump in, looking at that and seeing, do you have new hires at your front desk team or whoever's doing your treatment case presentation, whether it's your dental assistants or you have, somebody designed to that from your admin team, are they not as successful as they could be, and why? So that's also, it can be utilized not just to see the success of your business, but is it a training opportunity amongst your team?
Most definitely. Then there's the perio rate, this is the number of perio procedures. You should already have set procedure codes as to what you consider to be perio. There's only a handful of them. And then the number of prophies, divide that to the number of prophies times 100, also gives you the percentage of perio rate. So what Jackie had shown us in example 1, she wanted to see how much more prophies does her team do versus perio. Conversely, you could do the exact same thing to gauge how much, perio is your organization is doing, because then it can help you drive down to the hygienists maybe that are having areas of opportunity, some issues, could be training, that needs to happen.
Could be a business opportunity to hire a perio specialist. If you notice that your practice happens to have a really high perio rate, this is your patient mix. would your office benefit from getting a periodontist to come in, a specialist once a month,
Right.
once a week?
Yeah,
Right.
those perio maintenances and profies would drive that program. So this would be a very important one for that.
Most
You
definitely.
know, and the beauty of all of this is having a tool that you can quickly be able to evaluate and look at all of this for your practice.
Yeah.
Right.
You know,
This is something that the next one is something that we looked at daily, monthly, quarterly, year to date, you name it. You produce, you got to collect, right? So the collections rate, you take your total net collections, you divide that to your total net production, which is your contractual fees. That gives you a straight percentage of collections. So this is an important tool that I've used throughout my career. I know that everyone here uses it as well. It's like Tyler had mentioned about, there was a moment of cash flow. So what do we do for that then? What do we look at? How are we going to take care of it? So, for those of you that are not using analytics, you can actually utilize this yourself by creating reports to capture your net collections. And you take that amount and you divide that to your total net production, which is your contractual fees, and you get your percentage of collections. Anything below, I would say 90% is no bueno. So something that then makes you focus as to why are we not collecting?
Unless you like
what
to
are
give
the-
things away for free, which we
none of us like that.
Nobody likes that.
Right, right. Let's anybody that wants to take a picture of this, please do so. You can also email us at practiceheroes@carestack.com. And this is the next one. Again, KPIs that you can implement now. The restorative rate, you take your restorative treatment plans based on the procedure codes that you've actually have established and recognized what those are. Then you divide that by the total exams, number of exams times 100. That gives you a percentage of restorative. What is it? What types of business mix are you actually doing within your practice, right? Missed appointments. You take your failed and your canceled appointments. There are procedure codes for that. You run that report, let's say, and you divide that by the total number of appointments times 100, and that gives you your percentage of missed appointments. If you have an issue, patients missing their appointments, then that's an area of opportunity that there's got to be a better way of confirming those schedules. And I know that each of you here have come across those types of scenarios.
I remember using that one, especially in September, back to school month. We always had historically a lot of missed appointments because people make these appointments 6 months ahead. They forget when school's going to start. We get last minute cancellations. Our missed appointment rates would inflate in the month of September or whatever month that, it's relative to what's going on in your area. But it's knowing that historically is a great way to be proactive moving forward and up your confirmation efforts. So
It'll slow down September. That's what we call it.
Right. Dentistry is cyclical, right? All of a sudden you come into January, you get this burst of energy and everybody wants to come in. So, or towards Q4, everybody wants to come in because they want to use up their benefits for those that
Yeah.
or their FSA.
Yep.
All right. Another important KPI that I've used throughout my entire career is utilization, schedule utilization. You can call it chair utilization. I look at that all the time because I gather to see, what is the capacity and what is the demand, if you will. So you're going to take your patient or chair hours times 100. You take your patient hours, you divide that in your chair hours, and you times that by 100, and you get your percentage of chair utilization. You can have a variety of reasons as to why your schedules have open slots, or you're filled to the brim, and you're going to need to extend hours, open up another day, perhaps. So those are things that it would help you gauge then and make those informed decisions than just opening up a day just to open up a day,
Right.
So any comments on this slide, team?
I think you've covered it pretty well, Maria.
Yeah.
Yep.
I think I'm excited for the next slide. It's going to be
Right.
helpful for people. Yeah.
Right. So best practices and takeaways. Create your OKRs and your KPIs that matter most to your business and practice, and have your team take part of it in setting goals. Like I tell you, buy-in is key to Tyler said it, everybody's got skin in the game. And
Yes.
like I always said, I love the word alignment. That should be part of your culture. Write
Yes.
down, write down your goals, share it with your team, make it visible. They want to see how the needle is moving, and let them also be part of that solution to help you, come up with let's say, strategy as to how can we meet the goal. If we don't meet it this
Yes.
month, then we've got the whole quarter, or we got until the, 2 more months of the year. Let's see what we can do to make it hustle, right?
Yep. Yeah, Maria, I took my entire team last week we went and sat in a boardroom and talked about where we were for the year and what our goals were and how we were gonna to really go out with a bang for 2021. And they were so excited and had such a fire in them when we left there that, it's been really cool to see. And as we've hired 2 new people this week, and just to see them like excited to bring these new people on because they know it's going to help us achieve our goals. Really, that is so crucial in your success, is letting your team be a part of setting these goals.
That's right.
Yeah.
Definitely.
It's all about inclusivity. Evaluate the effectiveness of your KPIs by using SMART criteria. You really need to take time aside and really think this through to be able to make it work, right? And make sure that you're looking at the appropriate information. And of course, continually monitor your KPIs and be ready to pivot and adjust if you're falling short from your goals. Okay. There's Tyler, Jackie's, and Crystal's and my contact information. Feel free to reach out to us anytime. Ask us a question, how we've used the KPIs, how you can implement it. Maybe talk to us about what do you think about this OKR. It's always good to talk to somebody else to see, am I falling short here? Am I looking at the most important thing for my business or practice? So this is how you can get a hold of us as well. And the next one will be in November. This is going to be very interesting. Psychology and dentistry with Whitney Jackson. I got to tell you, I'm all about that. I'm all about culture.
Excited.
I'm all about relationships. I'm all about, nobody likes to use the word sale, S-A-L-E. It's not like we're selling a product, but in any case, we do a lot of things in dentistry that we don't ever notice how we actually, affect the other person, whether it's internally or with your patients. So psychology in dentistry is going to be a provocative topic. Very excited about this. You're going to get your other $25 Grubhub. That's Wednesday, November 17th, 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. For those of you that are in CareStack Champions in our Facebook page, you'll see the notice. Follow us at LinkedIn as well. And I want to say thank you all for being part of us tonight, joining us on our analytics. What gets measured gets done. Team, any lasting comments?
Just appreciate you guys being here, and Maria, for you having us on this panel and being able to talk about something we're all so passionate about. I just want to see everybody succeed and grow. So if you need anything, feel free to reach out.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you for having me.
Right.
Thanks for having me as well. I hope this was interesting, informative, helpful. And again, please reach out if you have questions. I'd love to help.